Are you looking for a transformational space to reconnect with your hormones, your cycle, and your power? Then join me as I launch the Wise Woman Rising program, a 4-week experience designed to guide you back to your body's wisdom and ignite your sense of self. I'm Dr. Tiffany Keenan, and I want to welcome you to this special conversation, part of our Wise Woman Rising series, where I sit down with inspiring women to share their lived wisdom, insights, and personal growth. Each story is a reflection of what's possible when we embrace change, honor our experiences, and rise together. Today, I'm so honored to be joined by wise woman, Angela Flanders, whose voice and story reminds us that we're not alone and that every woman carries power within her. Angela, thank you so much for being here today. How are you feeling as we begin?
Good, and thank you for welcoming me on.
Angela, I'm so excited to hear your story and the wisdom that you've learned. Please tell us a little bit more.
Okay, so I am a nurse. I become a nurse about roughly almost 28 years ago. Um, I've always been quite active in education and training new nurses. I work mostly, my initial in my career was medical floor and palliative care. About 8 years into my career, I suffered a major back injury at work. I was only 30 years old. I was a single mother. I herniated disc in my back, required back surgery in the States. I was off work for 2 years and I couldn't do hardly anything with my son, who was 6 years old, living in pain, trying to stay active. I was a very active person, but prior to that, I was a runner, and it was very, very hard on it for me to. I was very down. I didn't even know who I was anymore, and I just realized I have to get back to myself where I want. So I started biking. I went and bought myself a bike. I started swimming. I started doing things that I knew that I could do again. Got myself back to work, and I ended up couldn't go back quite to the job I was doing before, because it was a lot of lifting and pulling and stuff. So I became an oncology nurse, and I've been an oncology nurse ever since. I continued to stay active, and then about 10 years ago, I suffered a lot of pain in my shoulders and neck. And my doctor thought that's really unusual, so they did an MRI, and that's where they found that my disc and my neck were gone. Within a month, I seen a neurosurgeon, and he told me my nursing career was over, that I would not be able to go back to nursing. I told him, I said, this is my life. This is my identity. I loved oncology nursing. I seen what these patients went through, the appointments, the side effects, and it's almost like I totally understood what they were going through. And I told the neurologist at the time, he did neurosurgeon, I said, I am going to go back. And I explained the story about a couple of patients without names, who they were, and what impact they had in my life. And after a year and a half, I got myself back to oncology, working full time. I became a resource nurse. I moved up. I was giving chemo, but now I work as a charge resource nurse. And about 6 months ago, was told my family doctor was moving on. And I lived with neuropathic pain for so long and was on a numerous amounts of medications with side effects, of course, and seeing a neurologist and pain specialist and reading and researching. Continued to stay active. And I met a good friend who thought, Angela, why don't you try doing a little weightlifting with me? I got into doing some weightlifting, some strength training, felt really good, became addicted to it, just loved how I felt. And then I was out with a doctor. Then I happened to see this post about Dr. Keenan, and I made an appointment. And from that day on, it's just totally changed my life, and in so many ways. And it's just like I always feel like she's in my corner. She's giving me some tools to help me, different things I didn't even know, change a lot of my medications around a little bit, so I'm not having the side effects that I did initially have with the pain medication. And I am active. I work out, I bike, I swim, and my attitude is positive. I wake up, I do a morning yoga routine, and I try to convey, even when patients come into the oncology unit, they say, Angela, you're always smiling, you're always, because a smile is very simple, and it can bring such ease to patients who have such anxiety. And it makes me smile when I see them smile, and that yeah, because they're going through a hard time in their life.
And this is it, Angela, and your shared experiences. This is, I think, what happens with us in medicine when we go through difficulties. This is how our wisdom comes, right? So, what would you say to the women that are listening out there? What is the wisdom that you've kind of learned in your?
Do not give up. Be your own advocate. I cannot stress that enough. I even tell that to the patients in the clinic. Medication will only work so much. Just like the chemo drugs will only work so much. You also have to put some effort into it to make this work. That means from, eating nutritiously, getting exercise, doing some type of hobby to keep your mind so it's active, and being treating yourself like you would treat, say, your patient or your best friend.
Is it, I think as women, sometimes we often forget ourselves because
Yeah,
we are always used to taking care of everyone else. And again, healers, being in the healthcare profession, it's really hard to look inward. So I love it when you say to be your own best friend and
yeah,
give yourself the advice that you'd give your best friend and follow through with
yeah.
it.
And be patient with yourself. These changes just don't happen overnight. I mean, I've had like many changes, and I mean, in your life, I mean, there's many tragic things in my own life, even as a childhood, and you can move beyond those. And I truly did not really understand that until actually Dr. Keenan recommended me Natalie. And Natalie helped me process some of the childhood things that I kind of worked through, and like you can get past that because you are not that same person that you were before, and that every day is a new day, and if you can only focus on hour by hour to get through that day, remember the sun comes up tomorrow again.
Oh, I love that. I used to say as well, tomorrow's another day, from Gone with the Wind. And it's sometimes it is a day by day, sometimes it's an hour, a minute by minute. And what you said though about really letting the past go. And I think, working with Natalie, who does emotional regulation and emotional release, so much of us hold on to the past. And I think you and I have spoken before about Gabor Mate and, how people hold trauma and
Yeah,
everything in their body. And because you work with a lot of patients that have gone through cancer and illnesses, there's a lot of releasing that needs to
yeah.
happen.
I was always in that flight mode, like this task need to be done, this need to be done, this need to be done. And sometimes you just got to sit back and just take note of yourself, or even just listen to someone.
And that's it. Listening is so important. And then the other thing you were talking about as well is about change. And you mentioned about how we want to change the world. And as you get older, tell us
Yeah.
about that.
Um, Change, I deal with change almost on a daily basis as a nurse. I mean, healthcare, the way things are, it's very frustrating. Is trying to navigate that for patients. So, and change that, but also the big change.
Is to control, like you said, I think before when we were chatting about how you can accept the things that you
Yeah,
can change.
right. You can only control what you can control inside of you, and there's some things you have to let go.
Mm.
And I've learned that through workplace, through my career, through relationships, through a lot of things over the years. And you can't change other people. You can only be responsible for your own actions, but you can be responsible for how you react to other people. And I have, believe me, have learned that, and that has been one of the most valuable lessons that I have ever learned.
And I think that's when we have to say again, so we can't change the actions of our other
Yeah,
people, but we can change our reaction
yeah,
to them.
yeah,
I think that would be one, if everyone could listen to that, whether you're a man or woman that's listening, that's super big. That's
yeah,
super powerful.
yeah.
Right. And then I think, like you said too, about because you spoke about being your own advocate, that when you realize that, it puts you in the driver's seat.
It does. And it does, and it gives you control feeling. And that's what I even tell my patients. Like, there's things that you can do, like you can't control the cancer, your own point. But what you can control is how you say how you eat, or how you keep active, or how your body does that. And we can control things within ourselves. and it's finding what we can do inside of ourselves to kind of cope with every day. And if
And I
it's taking that 15 minutes at your lunch hour to go outside and go for a walk around, then so.
Right. And that's it. It's like what we can control. And I think, as people often struggle, we often struggle, well, this is too expensive, or the government's doing this, and we
Yeah.
can go into this victimhood mode. But when we
Yep.
come back and say, okay, I can control when I wake up in the morning, how I want to feel.
Yep.
I have the decision to turn the news on or not,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
and I have the decision in our workplaces, we have the decision to complain, or we have a decision to go in to wear a bright smile,
Yeah.
to bring a little bit of love, to bring a
Yeah.
little bit of fun into our workplace.
Very much so.
Yeah. Oh, I love that, Angela. So this is amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your story. So big takeaways for me is to be your own advocate, to really be your own best friend, and to basically take control of what you can do in your own life.
Yeah. And
Yes.
seek help. There's always someone out there that can help. And you just gotta ask for help. We can't do it all the time. But you gotta ask.
And this is it. And this is why I created this series for women to get together. So starting in August, people will meet once a week to share their stories.
Yeah.
Because when we know that we're not alone, that's the beginning of how we
Exactly.
heal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And listening to others and knowing that, okay, she got through this, I can get through this too.
Yeah.
And then together, when you get more knowledge, it can just make life roll much more easily.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much, Angela. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Keep sharing your smiles with all those around you.
Okay, well, thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.